ladies and gentlemen. This is the first time I do this kind of video, so please bear with me. And here we go. Spoiler alert. This series of videos are based on playthroughs done on stream, and the main idea is to summarize my opinion about the game. As a result, these videos might contain a lot of spoilers. If you want to know if game is good or bad from my perspective and know the score that I gave it, jump to the last minute, thank you. I'd start off by saying that Wolfenstein in face of Wolfenstein 3D is one of those super old FPS games, aka, how could people think this game is good? It looks terrible! Fairly speaking, it didn't age well, but the whole concept was bloody simple and fun. You try to escape Nazi fortress and you kill them all! But really there wasn't much to it. You had pretty limited arsenal, some enemies that are repeated 10 million times over the entirety of episode, and then another episode, and then 4 more episodes. I'd say for myself, this is really bad for aging. Why? Well, there are like 5 types of enemies, 4 types of weapons, few wall textures, and all of that is scattered around, what, 60 stages? Yeah, that's not entertaining at the time of watching this video, but if you find this entertaining when you're watching it, probably the age when EA conquered gaming world or something. Anyway, that was one of the first notable FPS games ever and was made by the same people who did Doom, so I absolutely can't hate it. Fairly speaking, I liked the game as a kid, I even replayed it and it was perfectly fine, but there is so little I can enjoy in replaying it compared to said Doom, but that's whole another topic that I'm gonna be covering now. Then many years later there was an amazing Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which many people loved and still love. I'll be talking about it more during this video. And then later some other people tried making this concept work again. And well, honestly I damn liked Wolfenstein 2009, but that game didn't really fly for reasons I don't get at the time and didn't get it back then, and I don't really care right now. Now that a brief Wolfenstein history is over, let's jump to post-Call of Duty times in the age of people getting triggered at one another. Full-on game about Nazis winning World War II, and they even renamed the Beatles? Needless to say that New Order felt really fresh while not being innovative in many ways. Protagonist hits bullets like a sponge, heals with medkits, and there is no flashing go hide screen. You fight many enemies that appear in many new combinations throughout the game, etc, etc. You know the formula, you probably played many of these games. The most ridiculous kind of FPS rolls back. Well, honestly it's not the only notable game, since in few last years there's been a few really good reboots. Wolfenstein The Old Blood is a prequel to a highly successful and praised New Order. I myself played New Order some time ago without really finishing it, but this time I decided to go from where the story begins. I'm also not sure if Bethesda and Machine Games planned making Old Blood a DLC or not, but I think it's a good way of marketing your new IP by making a small game set in a prequel, so that people might check it out. In a way that is a throwback to shareware games, though this is definitely not free as shareware was, where you could play a small part and decide if you want a full cake. But let's jump to the game. From the very first scenes you see that castle, that fortress, the name of the game based of it. You play as the same protagonist as you always were in these games, as BJ Blazkowicz. And the very first thing I would like to say about this game, this is a straight up episodes 1 and 2 of Return to Castle Wolfenstein. Everything that goes on, at the very least the main point of it, are exactly the same. You and some other agent dude get captured. Oh, hi.
And?
Both agents have been captured and are being held in Castle Wolfenstein.
Damn. Call a meeting, Jack.
He dies of being electrocuted.
There you go. I have a secret trick. Count to 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhale.
You got it.
You should try it. Monsieur.
You all right there?
I'm fine.
Huh? Ah, I was a bit worried we had lost you. Great.
You escape on a tram cart thing from the castle. You meet Kessler.
Ladies first.
Let's go.
Das ist Herr BJ, Herr Kessler. Wusste das Passwort.
Don't shoot, I'm Kessler. Follow me.
You find Helga, who for some reason is one Schnaps in the Old Blood and one something else in Regent Castle Wolfenstein. One Burrow?
Helga von Bülow.
Burrow?
Helga von Bülow.
Burr?
Helga von Bülow.
Whatever.
Please be patient. We are operating under very difficult conditions here.
Enough of your stalling. Tell me yes or no. Will it work?
Then zombies appear. Oh, hello.
Jesus Christ.
You find Helga at the special place where she revives something that belongs to King Otto. Big guy.
Was gibt's your This is your last warning.
No, you can't!
At last.
Then she dies and you take the plane off. I also think that this guy that was with Helga in RTCV is the same guy in the Old Blood.
I'll try to carry it nonetheless. One last time. Then I can rest.
Mother hen to Eagle's Nest. Mother hen to Eagle's Nest. Come in, Eagle's Nest. This is Eagle's Nest. We read you, Mother hen. What is your status? Status is mission accomplished. We are inbound. Well done, Mother hen. What is the condition of your passenger? All things considered, the passenger is doing fine. Repeat, passenger is doing fine. Mother hen out.
So now is the interesting part. I need to point out that I never heard of any Wolfenstein game being a reboot of another one. Well, except for obvious, Return to Castle Wolfenstein being sort of reimagination of Wolfenstein 3D and Spear of Destiny. I checked some news and articles. It seems that all the games are loosely connected, even timeline is like fine. Return to Castle Wolfenstein takes place in 1943, then Wolfenstein 2009 is somewhere during World War II. Then TNO, the New Order, begins in 1946 and goes to 60s because, well, you probably played this game and know it by now. You can probably see where I'm going with this. And yes, this is a minor thing, and all Wolf games have been always loosely connected. But why the fuck is something that happens in 1946 before the New Order is exactly fucking same thing that happens in 1943? It is said that this game wasn't in development until TNO launched, at least according to Wiki. This is actually a reason why it absolutely breaks any connection to previous games. I got a bit annoyed by that, and since then I always count last 3 games as a reboot, solely because the Old Blood. However, that doesn't really change my opinion on the game, I just really wanted to point that out. So, where are we? Ah, yeah, we are working with the very same concept of a story that the beginning of Return to Castle Wolfenstein told us long time ago, and we just expand on it. Generally saying, expanding less than 1 hour of content into 5-6 hours without making it vague and boring, well, for the most part at least, is quite a challenge. A challenge that Machine Games took and actually made it work in a pretty good way considering how little this was in development. Of course, my main job here was story plus laying off the levels, since it reuses pretty much everything from New Order. I'm pretty sure there is some map editor by now for them to just snap it all together, and here we go. But as I said previously, I think it's perfectly fine. Now let's jump to what I like about the game. First of all, levels. Stages in the Old Blood are built in a very nice fashion. You actually feel like you're in this whole castle for the most of this game, even though it's only half of the game technically, but that's the topic for a bit later. This castle has various sections, touched and untouched by Nazis. You get to learn history of the place if you read notes, well, some of them at least. You do feel like this place is heavily guarded, almost as the heart of the entire enemy force. Every single level in the game is easily distinguishable from one another, at least when you recap them all in your head. It goes like this: you enter the castle, you get caught, you break free, that's first level. You enter main area, that's second level. You find Agent 1, that's the third level. You escape castle, fourth level. Then you enter the village, fifth level. Then goes zombies, tank crypt, levels 6, 7, 8. You can already see that I don't really like all the levels, but that's the point I will talk about a tiny bit later, just wait. Stealth sections in levels are interesting, some are more puzzling than the others, some less. They aren't thrown at you all the time and you don't really get punished for going loud. This game also recaptures one of the most memorable scenes from Return to Castle Wolfenstein, at least for me, so well that I can't do anything but praise entire stage 4. Since not only there is that cart train thing escape, which is fun this time, fights in this level are also goddamn amazing. Both bridge fight and pub fight. Another thing about levels is that the first half of the game feels like it's about Rudy Jaeger and the castle and dogs and whatever, while second part is about Helga occultism, and both these parts are like very different. Holy shit, why do I remember this level? This is nothing compared to Old Blood. Second, throwback bonus game. Holy shit. Just look at that. I'm not sure if this was in the New Order. I haven't played it all that carefully to look for collectibles and Easter eggs, but that made me stop for a moment and just appreciate the moment when I saw it. These weird throwback mixes the new games tend to like to do is so cool, it warms my heart. Just the fact that they put it all in a game made me really happy. However, and this is a big but, bonus game is cool, but it gets old, and it gets old very fucking quick. Despite that I name it as one of the best parts of the Old Blood, it is very poorly made. It does exactly what Wolfenstein 3D was doing, and somehow makes it even more boring. There are 3 types of enemies, there are 4 types of weapons, and it is to recapture the very first episode of Wolfenstein 3D. I get it, that's like shareware back in days, only a little content. But why the flying fuck did they make it so slow? Look at that footage of me running through a long ass corridor. Now I specifically went and found Wolfenstein 3D. Look at footage of me running through some long other corridor. You might understand me. The difference is so clean, I don't really need to pinpoint it. Also, another thing I didn't like, I haven't found any reasons of why would you collect all the silver in a level. There are no related achievements, no completion list after the level as you get in Wolfenstein 3D. I suppose the only thing that changes is the points you get for the main level where this bonus level is set in, and that's like very disappointing. You can't select these levels from main menu, you can't do time attack, nothing of that sort. If you could just replay it from menu, maybe even speedrun it, maybe have some sort of stats for these simplistic levels, full aesthetics of Wolfenstein 3D Episode 1, that would have been just amazing, perfect, fine! Or just make it faster so you don't feel like you never want to play Wolfenstein 3D again, because these levels just go on and on. Anyway, these levels are great. They felt weird, but they're a lot of fun if you played the original a long time ago. But this whole concept could have been utilized in such much better way. It's more of a neutral point than anything good bad about the game, but I decided to put it here because there'll be another one I put in the second half. 3. Combat system. That's what new Wolfenstein games are going to be from now on. If there will be any more after the new Colossus DLCs, of course. And, you know, I'm totally fine with that. Weapons feel like they could kill a person. If something looks like a weak spot on an enemy, it is most likely a weak spot. Most of the perks I intuitively gained during playthrough. For some you might need a very specific playstyle to earn, but that's how it always should be. Stealth is never mandatory and you will most likely be fine if you never use it. I liked it, so I used it a lot. Almost every single encounter I did stealthy. Or tried. As a result, any playstyle gets appreciated and nobody feels bad. I think that's actually great. 4. First half of this game in general. We're getting closer to the second half of the game and reasons that I find bad about this game, but let's first appreciate Act 1 a bit more.
Jesus Christ, it's a big fucking dog.
Can I? Oh! I'm sorry. Yeah, like, you skip all of this in speedrun. I clearly don't remember all of that.
Your comedy act won't save you. Talking will. Why do you insist? Your boys are dying out there on the beaches and the fields. It's pathetic. Like pulling the wings off an insect. Your war is lost.
When I break free, I will fry you in this chair till you die.
Ow! Ow!
Count to 4. Inhale. Count to 4. Exhale.
One last time, then I will kill you. Who is your contact? Yes?
And when I'm done with you, I will kill your dog.
Let me.
Killed your fucking dog, Rudy. Gotta get out.
Uh-oh.
Fuck.
Oh, what the fuck, dude? Well, I wasn't expecting that. Dude, there are still dudes there not living up to the standards of this.
Nazis are all dead. You can. Never mind.
Oh, it's this guy again. Calm your tits, dude. You can die. Oh, Jesus Christ. And now we get to what I don't like about this game. 1. It's too damn chaotic. It's exactly the same issue I have with this game and the New Order. unless you play stealth, everything is weird and chaotic. You hear sirens everywhere, you shoot loads of ammo, and screen is constantly shaking while you do that. Weapons take so much space on screen that I with my tiny ass monitor can barely see anything. Even though I said that every part of combat system is good, I find straight up shooting sessions poor at times. And it's not engines, I can't actually pinpoint the problem here, that's the thing. As I said, bridge fight in stage 4 is one of my most favorite ones in this game, and it didn't feel chaotic. It's again that thing that I personally find neutral more than good or bad. But since I put neutral thing in a good, I'd put this one in bad. Like all the shooting things are fun, but sometimes it gives me headache on this engine, I don't know why. Oh, and yeah, picking up every single piece of health, armor and ammo manually is a pure cancer. If you do throwback FPS, make collectibles as things that you need to pick up with your F or E button. Don't just go whole mouse flies around and you keep constantly tapping the fucking button. 2. Useless and pointless side stories. This is the most weird one to include, and some of you people who watch this might not even get what I'm talking about or not agree at all, because it's not the main point of a game. Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about notes. Yes, notes. Talking about those notes that are scattered around the entire game. Few of them in the beginning are on Rudy Yeager, and they're just fine, because most of the game you run around the castle from him, like straight up. First episode is like almost the entire game. I mean it. Or you read about King Otto, who built the castle long ago and then something happened. That's lore that is somewhat important and interesting, and there isn't much of it, and if there is much of it, it tells a story. There are also few newspaper articles and notes about certain events and characters which are mainly for building the world inside of your head. But there is also a fucking load of shit, which is the papers about Helga von Schnaps. You know her because she is our target, and that's about as much as we learn from the start of the game. We need to steal documents about test head locations from her and leave. She isn't even our target! She isn't even our target at first. It's later we figure out that she's digging something up, so we go stop her because we need a document. We never really care about what she does. But probably most of letters in this game is she talking about wine, her past, people around her, how she loves or hates someone, how her project goes on. I just have one question. Why? Why would you put so much useless lore in a game? And I legit mean it's useless. It describes nothing about her. It is presented to give you a better picture of a person you are up against. But you only meet her 2 times in the entire game. And we don't even fight her because second time we meet her she fucking dies. Well, almost. Of course first meeting with her is kind of memorable, but it tells enough of character. Why having so much useless lore about a character who is there for 3 minutes? I really don't get it. And on some points I stopped reading text because all of it was Helga jerking off some wine with some dude about King Otto. I'm pretty sure that's what it's all about. Why won't you make 5th level where you first time meet her based on that intel that you collected? Why not make the whole pub section like interactive, based on a different intel and preparations? And this is the main problem we actually get in this game. It's number 3. Act 2! Act 2 is the worst part of this game. It is rushed, it is dumb, and boring. It sure has its moments, but compared to Act 1 it's just miserable. While Castle felt like a very big place where probably many people somewhere are running around, like Nazis, you know, the village feels like it's pretty much empty and dead. Why won't you add a quest in stage 5 to actually, based on intel, prepare to enter the pub and steal documents? Why does BJ just walk in there and takes wine and goes home? Hey, I'm a waitress, also I don't speak German, and I'm from, what, Frankfurt? I don't remember what he said, like I don't care. Even in Return to Castle Wolfenstein there was like a maze level, kind of, where you were running around, and then there was some guy who's like, hey, come in, take this silenced machine gun. Why not make at least something like that? Like, sure, I did like that scene in Helga's room, but holy fuck, we had so much lore about her, and then every single person we meet tells us important parts of that lore. Why have everything else? Why not make it possible to, like, I don't know, change wine, to change dialogue? Like, we know so much about this character, and for what? There is no reason for that. Now, you might argue that I'm going way too far with this character bullshit. Yeah, maybe, but I got super bored of reading texts of Helga von Schnaps drinking wine, talking to one dude, drinking wine, talking to other dude, telling which wine she likes and doesn't, talking to other dude, jerking off to King's Auto something history. Like, holy shit, you could add the expandable whatever here, and it's not there. It's just to like feel these collectible places. Then after we meet with Helga, zombies appear, and they're fine in terms of zombiness, but stage 6 is also the shortest level in the game, with one fight and like one interesting mechanic, which doesn't really do anything. It makes you think about the choice, but I personally realized that I made the choice after I made it. And probably you will forget about this choice. In case you don't understand, I'm talking about choice at the end of a level where one of two characters died. In the new order, you make a choice at the very start of the game, and it does change certain aspects of the game, certain perks you have, and that one character who appears in the game. Here, you just get some dialogue, and that's it. Like, my problem with this level is that it could have been, I don't know, longer and have some weird stealth sequence where not only Nazis are on guard, but also they fight zombies, and also zombies are walking around. So making through it would be a bit more challenging as a stealth. But instead there is like one section with Nazi zombies with machine guns who are really dumb. You just rush through it. Then stage 7 you like ride a tank thingy, and it's actually fine. But it's yet again very short. But if you look for collectibles, the stage becomes somewhat expanded and okay. But the main problem here is all these 3 levels, from entering Wolfberg to getting to the last level, took me like 1 hour and 30 minutes in a playthrough, which is about as much as the escape level took me, all alone. And 2 of these levels were basically on the same place. Levels 5 and 6 are the same area. You're revisiting docks in 5 and 6. It's so lazy. Though probably it's not that. They probably were like rushed. They were said like, hey, we need to release the game really soon. And by that point they had the beginning laid down, so they took their time to develop last level, and then they just smashed everything together to get these 3 shit levels, which are necessarily short and silly in the overall context of the game. Oh yeah, also in the last level there shouldn't really be anything story-wise that we should care about. But they put in one stupidly long recording of Helga talking to a miner about finding a map or something, and him killing a priest or like some guy with a rock, but before he like sticks his fingers in his eyes, and this dialogue goes on forever and ever. I was sitting there like, holy shit, can this end? I was expecting there to be like something interesting at the end, but at the end it just dialogue ends. Why making it so long? Put it on the fucking paper like you like. And I wouldn't have spent 10 minutes there sitting listening it to get absolutely nothing. It like doesn't even matter to the plot. I mean, plot of this game is like very simplistic, but it's like there, so you want to listen to it. And then it's long and goes on forever, like I'm going on forever about it right now. Are you bored? You probably are, because I was bored. Anyway, then there are a bunch of another useless letters just thrown in as collectibles, I guess, and they just tell about screams from below the ground and so on. But the overall last stage is okay, and the boss is good and fun and actually well designed. But I was so bored of certain things at this point that I was actually noticing them easily, and they were just resuming my annoyance. I suppose these are my main praises and issues with the game. Everything else is in the middle. For example, there is that arena minigame where you survive for a long time and you get points. I don't really care about these things. There are many collectibles and achievements, but I didn't feel compelled to go and try get them all. If I need to say something about graphics and audio, it was fine. I had no issues with it. Definitely worked better with this PC than it did with the last one. But it's not that kind of stuff that I'm making this video for. It's to summarize my overall opinion, what made me feel good and bad about the game. So the score. I'm not gonna be really telling you much about my rating system, but I was doubting to give this game 6 or 7. I definitely never give a game that I enjoyed less than 4. 4 is like that weird game which is probably horrible, but it has something to it that made me happy during it. Like, I don't feel like I wasted time doing this, but also the game wasn't good and I won't recommend it. But I enjoyed it, it was fun. So 6 or 7 is like way above trash list. My main issue with this game is the pacing. It starts off so nicely and then everything is being thrown away, plus you get boring zombies, like, oh come on. Rush Ending killed this game pretty hard. I was considering saying that this game is solid 8 at first, when I was like around level 3-4. After level 4 I was pretty sure I'd give it an 8. But all my complaints that I just voiced really made me hate second part of the game. I guess that's still not enough to rate it, so I'd be grateful towards this little piece of a bigger game advertisement and give it a 7. This is definitely worth playing, and if you don't know if you'd enjoy the Wolfenstein series, just play this one. It's cheap and it's on sale pretty often. It can give you some understanding about New Order and New Colossus. And these were my afterthoughts on Wolfenstein the New Order. Let me know what you think of this video in comments below, since I plan on doing these every time I finish some game. So I'd appreciate some advice, what you liked, disliked about it. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.
Aus Frankfurt. Sind Sie Frankfurter?
Ja, ein Hotdog.